Inuyashiki anime series returns for a third episode. An episode which is going to do everything in its power to warm your heart with the antics of a goofy old man who's been transformed into a super-powered robot superhero. And then immediately, they're going to completely shift gears and focus on a psychotic teenager who has also been transformed into a super-powered robot. This was another fantastic episode of Inuyashiki, which honestly I believe might be my favorite show of the entire anime season. Not only is the production value absolutely amazing, but the overall story itself is really great, especially how it's breaking conventions and giving me something that I honestly never expected or thought that I even wanted. This was a great episode, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. Basically, I'm going to talk about the stories that went on with each individual character in this episode. I'm not even disappointed by the fact that the last episode ended with a cliffhanger, promising us that we might get some sort of conflict or maybe even some sort of battle between Ichiro and Hiro. And it doesn't happen at all, and yet I'm not disappointed because the overall quality of the episode is just so freaking amazing. Watching the different paths that these characters are going on, loving one, hating the other, it's just such a total freaking package. And I love how the tonal shifts in this series actually work, going from something that is incredibly horrific and violent to something which is incredibly goofy and incredibly heartwarming. So let's just go ahead and start. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, Hiro is completely freaked out when he sees that his bang attacks doesn't do anything to this old man, so he immediately just flies away. It's pretty clear that he's had a lot more practice with his robot abilities and knows how to use them in a much more proficient manner than Ichiro himself, who decides to, over the course of the next episode, try to train himself how to use a little bit more of his abilities and actually using them in the field. He effectively becomes a true superhero in this episode right here, when suddenly, through the power of being able to hear things, he hears that there's this family which is caught in a fire, and there's no firefighters in Tokyo today, so he decides that he's going to be the one who is going to save the day. But in order to get there, he's going to have to learn to fly. This scene is really thrilling, but it's also incredibly funny at the same time because the method about which he goes about flying is actually singing the theme song to Astro Boy, which is a really great callback considering that Astro Boy is not only one of the most classic anime series of all time, but also involved a character who is half human, half robot. Essentially, a cyborg. And it makes sense that an old man would remember the theme song to a cartoon like this. Clearly, he used to watch this stuff back in the day when he was a child. So, after singing the song, suddenly his back decides to open up and you see him flying around in the air with pretty much no control whatsoever. It's funny just watching him fall back to Earth, realizing that he can't get hurt, and just getting back up to do it again. Singing along to the song even as he flies. And watching him just zip around this city, barely dodging buildings and anything, just looks amazing. It's a great sequence, and when he finally arrives at the fire, he doesn't do it gracefully. He doesn't arrive like Superman with his freaking hands at his hips and his freaking cape blowing in the wind. He straight up just face plants pretty much right there on the ground, but goes into the house, saves not only the father, but the grandmother of this family, saves the day. It's great. He even is so proud of himself he starts crying. You can really see the beginnings of a great hero here, and it only gets better as the actual episode goes on, as we do get to learn that these cyborgs have the ability to heal wounds. As if that was not amazing enough, they can actually heal terminal diseases like cancer. And there's a scene later on in the episode when Ichiro is just walking home, and he passes by these two cats, a mother cat and her kitten, and suddenly, and kind of hilariously, I have to admit, it ends up getting hit by a vehicle. So Ichiro goes over, he starts crying, maybe he should go to the vet, when suddenly something activates within his body which allows him to see all of the inner workings and everything that's damaged, and somehow, through his emotions or through the power of a robot combined, he is able to heal this cat. And this is a big moment for him because now not only can he save people who have actually already been hurt, he can actually possibly bring people back to freaking life. And he's able to cure cancer. Hell, by the end of the episode, he actually goes to a hospital and starts to heal people inside of a cancer ward. It's an amazing moment for his character, and it's so tonally different from everything that is Hiro Shishigami. So let's just go ahead and talk about him. The creepy dude who's obsessed with One Piece. No one's ever going to look at One Piece fans the same way again, I just have to say that. But this episode just again firmly established that this kid is basically just going off the rails. It's not a matter of trying to find emotion for him anymore. He's just literally going through the motions. There's a scene in the episode where they're at school and he promises to help out his friend if he ever gets picked on the bullies, and it's a pretty stereotypical scene where the bullies show up and then he suddenly shows off his powers, but he basically breaks the wrist of this one student, and then it just gets way worse, because what I love about this scene is the build up to it, the fact that we might actually get to see them going up against the bullies on the roof, and again, they break convention. That's actually not what happens. Instead, Hiro and his friend go up to the roof, they see these bullies on the street, and he just decides to pick them off from afar, killing all 4 of them in broad daylight in front of everyone. But because his powers don't use anything that's going to leave a trace behind, he's completely okay with that. And let me just say that that might be one of the creepiest things about this guy, is how even after doing that, he feels no remorse for killing them, and he's justifying his actions simply because he could get away with it. By the end of the episode, his friend decides that he doesn't want to associate with Hiro anymore because he kills people, and he's even able to use his power to steal money from freaking ATM machines. It is insane. And Hiro just sort of walks it off. He doesn't really seem all that upset that his best friend doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. He just tells him, you better go to school. And because they didn't creep you out enough from that scene, they end it in what might be one of the most disturbing sequences of just seeing the front of a house that I think I've ever seen. Hiro is walking home and he suddenly passes this very small home where he hears a dog barking, and then he just walks behind this bush, kills the dog, then decides to casually walk into this house, and you hear him just here kill an old couple, basically a grandma and a grandpa, and they don't show anything. It's just the front of a house. Your imagination is going to make this scene terrifying, and then it all ends with these 2 kids running past him. He points his finger at them, and we don't really know what happens after that. It's implied that he does walk away, but who knows? He could have very well killed those 2 kids. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Inuyashiki? This show is awesome. I have the benefit of jumping on late and only watching the first 2 episodes like 3 days ago, which, by the way, I did review them. Check it out on the channel. I would really appreciate it. But I didn't have to wait as long for this episode for a lot of people, and it felt so good to finally jump back and watch some more new episodes. This is the type of series that, like, as soon as an episode is done, I'm begging for it to be the next week so that I can see the next part of the story. I know that it's based on a manga or a light novel series. I'm not 100% on that one, but I don't want to look at that. I want to be completely surprised by everything that this series is going to bring to the table. I'm also anticipating what is probably going to be a crazy conflict between these 2 characters. It's inevitable that they are going to have some sort of battle with one another, and I can't wait to see how that's going to go down and what kind of repercussions that's actually going to have on the entire world itself, especially because these 2 seem to have almost near limitless powers and things that they can do. The fact that they can heal people simply by just like touching them is amazing. The fact that Hiro himself claims that he can actually take advantage of massive nuclear weapons to take out people from afar is insane. They can hack into anything, they're super powered, and nothing freaking hurts them. And you know what? I didn't even talk about the scene where freaking Ichiro beats up these goons who are just like messing with this one businessman. There's a scene where these like these big stereotypical like thugs that you see in anime all the time, and they're picking on this guy, and then Ichiro shows up and he's like, I'm gonna take care of these guys for you, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is the moment. He's gonna get in a cool stance and activate some weapons and just waste these guys. Ichiro still does not know how to fight. He fights like a flailing old man, and it's hilarious. But since he's able to take so many punches and is so indestructible, he just makes these guys look like fools, and it is so satisfying watching him destroy these guys, and also doing it without killing them. That is, of course, the biggest thing about this series is the duality between both of these characters and the extremes that they're actually willing to go to, with Ichiro being the ultimate hero, not only saving people from fires and goons, but actually curing actual diseases, with the character of Hiro who doesn't even come across as, like, a human. And a lot of that is also owed to the amazing voice acting in this series, which I have to say does not sound like the typical anime voice acting that I hear. Like, Hiro's voice actor is terrifying. He just sounds like a regular dude, and he's so calm all the time. And the fact that the series, aside from the fact that there are cyborgs involved, takes like a realistic approach to it, it makes it feel all the more real with these characters. Really, I can't wait to see where these stories are going to go and how they're going to collide with one another. What I will say is, I think it's something that you guys need to check out if you're looking for a new show this season. Without a doubt, it's my favorite show of the season, and I cannot wait to see more. But I want to hear from you guys. You guys know that I love this episode. It's a 5 out of 5 from me. But make sure to tell me what you guys thought of this episode in the comments section below. Did you have any favorite scenes from this episode? Was it something funny, heartwarming, or something that really freaked you out from Hiro? What do you hope to see from the rest of the series and the conflict between these two characters? Tell me all your thoughts, theories, and what you hope to see in the comments section. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things anime and manga related. And of course, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.